Well, it's official. It is the equinox, the autumn equinox for those of us in the northern hemisphere, but the autumnal equinox for all of our friends south of the equator. And it's been a habit of mine on equinox to draw an oracle. And Crowley back in the days would do a I Ching oracle, and for the 6 months coming up, and he would also do a sort of a random bibliomancy kind of thing with the Book of the Law, and somehow he would dangle his magic ring over the text of the Book of the Law, and where the ring landed, that would be the guiding word, if you will, or the magic word for that 6 month period. Well, I'm not presuming to do anything like that, but if you were to do something like that for yourself, that equinox is a perfect time to do it, or the solstice, or whenever you have a chance to do it. Anyway, so I threw the I Ching today. I used my I Ching sticks, which have there are five of them are exactly alike, but one of them also has a little extra notch in it there, and to designate it as a moving line, so I can tell that is the one moving line by. This would be a yang, or an unbroken line that's moving into a broken line. And our good friend Craig Hill made these sticks with mother of pearl inlay on them. So I threw it, and I got, and I'll share it with you today. The first one is over here. Hexagram 26, which is the taming power of the great. Now, each hexagram is made up of 2 trigrams, and each of the 8 trigrams, that's 8 ways that you can do a mix and match of a broken line and an unbroken line in stacks of 3. So there's the sun, the moon, the phallus, like the giant phallus, supernal phallus, and the yoni, like the giant yoni, like Hokmah and Binah. And then there's fire, water, air, and earth. So those are the 8 trigrams. And so hexagram number 26 will have the phallus on the bottom and the trigram of earth on the top. And see, I put an X there on the moving line. So that line, if that unbroken line would flip to its opposite, it's called an old yang. It's so old that it's about to flip into its opposite. And a moving yin line would be so old it's moving into a yang. That's how that works. So the top remains the same. The top remains that earth trigram. But when we use the moving line and change it, it becomes the sun. So what we've got here is and that is hexagram 22, which is called grace. Okay, so we got 26 changing to 22, and the top remains the same, but the big supernal phallus, which would in Kabbalah would be like Hokmah, number 2 on the tree of life, but it's the supernal triad. It's the huge male principle. Turns from a phallus to the sun itself. So it's a metaphor in a way that if you're familiar with those concepts, you can sort of see what the movement is in this 6-month period. I'm going to share with you, because that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to share just portions of the I Ching, Book of Changes. This is the Wilhelm translation, Wilhelm Baines, and sort of give a meaning of. We'll start with 26. Now, there's all sorts of commentaries and stuff here. Second half of this book is the commentaries of Confucius on it, which can go on and on. But we're just going to briefly read a few things here. 26. Let's see. The taming power of the great. The hexagram has a threefold meaning, expressing different aspects of the concept of holding firm. Heaven within the mountain gives the idea of holding firm in the sense of holding together. Okay. Here's the judgment, though. This is actually the I Ching text. The taming power of the great. Perseverance furthers. I Ching says that a lot. Because ultimately, it always does. Anyway, taming power of the great. Perseverance furthers. Not eating at home brings good fortune. It furthers one to cross the great water. And I'll just read part of this here. To hold firmly to great creative powers and store them up, as set forth in this hexagram, there is need of a strong, clear-headed man, of course, in this old Chinese, who is honored by the ruler. Now that could be some practical advice. Okay. The trigram points to a strong creative power. It indicates firmness and truth. Both point to light and clarity and to the daily renewal of character. Only through such daily self-renewal can a man continue at the height of his power. Force of habit helps to keep order in quiet times. But in periods when there is great storing up of energy, everything depends on the power of his personality. However, since the worthy are honored, as in the case of having the strong personality entrusted with leadership by the ruler, it is an advantage not to eat at home, but rather to earn one's bread by entering upon public office. Such a man is in harmony with heaven. Therefore, even great and difficult undertakings, such as crossing the great water, succeed. Now, if those circumstances don't seem to match your particular life and circumstances of your situation at the moment, nevertheless, we should view it as a metaphor for things that are happening with you. Then it goes into the image, and this part again is the text. Heaven within the mountain. Okay, that phallus thing is what they're talking about with heaven, and that the top trigram of earth there, that's the mountain. So heaven within the mountain. Heaven within the mountain, the taming power of the great. Thus the superior man acquaints himself with many sayings of antiquity. and many deeds of the past, in order to strengthen his character thereby. Now, there's a little commentary for each of the 6 moving lines, and we've got one moving line in our hexagram 26, and that's the one in the 2nd place. And this sort of indicates how, what we've just read, how it is in the process of moving forward. This is how the I Ching can serve as an oracle. It doesn't predict the future at all, but it tries to give us a snapshot of how present situations are changing and are intuiting what is likely to follow after that change, after that movement, is where the oracle really lies. So it's in the 2nd place, because they read from bottom to the top. 9 in the 2nd place means the axle trees are taken from the wagon. Here, advance is checked. However, in the same way as it did in the 3rd line of the taming power of the small, which is another hexagram just sort of opposite this. However, in the latter, the restraining force is slight. Thus, a conflict arises between propulsive and restraining movement, as a result of which the spokes fall off of the wagon wheels. While here, the restraining force is absolutely superior. Hence, no struggle takes place. One submits and removes the axle trees from the wagon. In other words, contents himself with waiting. In this way, energy accumulates for a vigorous advance later on. Okay, just for fun, I'm going to read what the great sage Milo has to say in the I Ching of Milo for 25, and the moving line in the 2nd place, or 26, I mean. 26, the taming power of the great. Get out of the house and conquer the world, but first broaden yourself. Read the classics, study history, then make history. And then I've got for the moving line in the 2nd place, don't even think about resisting this problem. The only thing you can do is wait. Okay. Now, that changes now to hexagram 22, grace. Now, I tell you, anything that turns into grace is sort of a welcome movement, okay? And now we have the sun in the mountain. Okay. See the sun in the mountain. Grace has success in small matters. It is favorable to undertake something. So in other words, the movement's going pretty good, and it starts with a trickle of small things. Fire at the foot of the mountain. The image of grace. Thus the superior man proceed when clearing up current affairs, but he dare not decide controversial issues in this way. So we're still cautioned not to bite off more than we can chew. Anyway, and sometimes in I Ching, the phallus is called heaven, and sometimes the yoni is called earth, but that's not the element earth. Anyway, you got to sort of get around different terms. But this trigram here, this trigram right there, really is the sun. The moon actually is just the opposite. It's a sandwich with a unbroken line in the middle. Okay. That's your oracle for the oracle has spoken. You might want to draw for yourself an oracle for the next 6 months of your magical life too today. And what's interesting is that you get to compare it with the next one that's coming up in 6 months. Okay, that's it for today. Until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. Grace.